I am 23, the oldest of 5 siblings, and I am a full-time student. I also have a part-time job in my field, but when I complete my after degree, my employer will take me on full-time. I make enough from part-time to pay for school and put money aside. My siblings range from 10-20 years old. Both of our parents work full-time. I have taken on a lot of the responsibilities for keeping everything running in the house. I do the grocery shopping, the laundry, as well as making suppers and doing meal prep so everyone has lunches ready to take every day. I also get all my siblings to do their part with regards to household chores. For example, my youngest brother is responsible for feeding and walking the dogs, so I make sure that there is dog food in the storage and poop bags on the leash. My dad works very long hours, and my mom works 9 to 5 at a hard job. Over Christmas, I had a chance to buy a PS5 for myself, so I did. The rest of my family is still using a shared PS4. I keep mine in my room and I do not share. My parents started fielding complaints from my oldest brother about how I made so much money and I don't share the things I buy for myself. Totally true. So they had a talk with me where they brought this up. I pointed out how much of the household work I did, and they said it wasn't fair that O was earning so much money without contributing. They told me how much they expected from me. I went to my room and did the math. If I gave them what they wanted, I would have about $800 a month left over. If I dropped a couple of classes next semester, I could go to almost full-time hours with my employer, and it would only be 1 more year until I graduated with my 2nd degree. But I could afford my own place, and I would have way more free time and disposable income. I packed up and moved out. Everything I owned fit in my car. I stayed at an Airbnb for 2 weeks until I could get everything sorted with an apartment, school, and work. It was great. I'm not gonna lie, I may have gone a little overboard on Tinder. I couldn't have women over to my parents' house. I just moved into my own apartment. I'm staying part-time until I finish this semester. I will work full-time over the summer and go to a lighter class load higher work hours in the fall. My oldest brother has been tasked by my parents to do everything I used to do. His chores have been split up with the other 3. They are all pissed at me for moving out. My parents are upset that I left them in the lurch. My siblings are mad that they all have more chores. My oldest brother is especially salty because he has no free time to see his girlfriend, and she isn't allowed in the house when my parents aren't home. I'm enjoying my free time. I bought myself a plant from IKEA. I feel bad for screwing them all over, but it didn't make sense for me to do all that work and pay rent on top.
Honestly, I'll never call a person an a-hole for calling their parents bluff or not, and moving out when their parents start to demand rent. When I was an adult living with my parents, my mom approached me about rent, and I was honest with her. I asked if they needed money, if they couldn't afford things on their own, and when she said no, I just want to make sure I'm teaching you responsibility. I let her know that if I was going to pay to live somewhere, I wasn't going to be living with my parents. Parents are allowed to ask their adult children for rent money if they want, but adult children are also allowed to decide that if they're going to be paying rent, they'd rather be paying rent for their own space.
Especially when they are still a student plus working. We have a deal with our kids, 16 and 18. As long as you are a student, you can live with us rent-free. We will help as we are able, but you are expected to work and contribute to tuition, books, etc. Once done and working full-time, we will decide on a time frame, maybe 6 months to a year, during which you can stay rent-free while saving up, then choose to pay us a small rent or move out. They don't know this, but any rent we get from them will go in a savings account that we will give to them to help down the road, like to help pay for a wedding, furnish an apartment, put toward down payment on a house. It will go back to them somehow. I know we are privileged to be able to help them out, but unless you are in pretty dire financial straits, I can't imagine asking my kid to pay rent while they are still studying. Also, moving out and becoming independent in your 20s is a normal expectation,